Okay, so you're getting ready for the National Publicity Summit. Maybe you're a little bit excited, a little bit nervous, maybe more than a little bit nervous. There are a lot of important people that you'll be meeting there. You have TV producers and radio producers and magazine, newspaper folks and podcasters and a lot of interesting, important people. And you have your needs, your goals. You want to look your best and sound your best and have them like you, book you on their shows, do stories about you. There are a lot of important things you want to make happen, or should I say, need to make happen. That is the idea behind the strategies I'm going to give you right now and a program that's taking place a little bit before the summit. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Jess Todfeld, and I want to give you a quick sense of who I am. I was one of the producers that people at the summit pitched for 14 summits. So I was on the receiving end of all those pitches. I'm in a very unique position to share with you some of that knowledge. So I was a producer for 13 years and I worked at ABC, NBC, and Fox. In 2007, I decided to leave television, start my own business as a media trainer. And when I left, I realized I need to do exactly what you're doing. I need to be out there in front of the press so I can create more attention and, of course, more business and more awareness and make sure I look and sound my best and all the things that I didn't necessarily think about behind the camera. So I went out there to go do it. In fact, I've written 4 books since leaving, and when I was promoting my 3rd book, I set a Guinness record for giving the most interviews in 24 hours, which was 112 different radio stations in a 24-hour period. It was exhausting, but it was fantastic, and there was a lot that I can pass on to you. At this point, I've also been on every major TV network: ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, CNN, BBC, MTV. The Daily Show interviewed me, and that was really exciting. And I've been in somewhere between 50 to 100 newspapers. And what does all of this mean for all of you? It means I have a lot of great things to share. In fact, they are strategies. I hate the word tips because tips are kind of throwaways. So let's dive in right now, and I'm going to give you our first strategy. Number 1, put yourself in their position. So these producers come to the summit, and there's person after person after person pitching them. It can be exhausting. And at a certain point, they really need help focusing. There are 100 people that they are going to be talking to. So even though you have 2 or 2.5 minutes for a conversation, add that up, including a little time in between for people to walk up and a couple of breaks for them to just regroup. And it's a few hours. You can come up and say, I give people tax strategies and help them figure out their life. After hearing 80, 100 pitches, it's exhausting. But if you came up and said, there are 5 simple changes that will double your income right now, and they're tax changes, hey, tell me more. You need to be figuring out what some of these pitches, or hooks as we like to call them, are. Here's another double bonus, so you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 in this first strategy. And I tell people this all the time, and it works every summit. You might be in between talking to the producers, meaning you sign up and you get numbers for which person you're talking to at a particular time, but sometimes you have a few minutes where you're just standing there and waiting for the next person. Also standing there would be one of the producers. Sometimes nobody is talking to them. You need to go up and pitch them. But Jess, they weren't on my list of the people that I thought was a perfect fit. Go up and pitch them anyway. And what you'll find is many times you can connect with them and some magic will happen. Say you had that same tax topic and you had somebody who had a sports show and you thought, well, I don't really have something for sports, but I'm going to do what Jess said. What you should do is figure out, how can I speak to their audience? What would be the most value? And you have to really be able to shift up when you're at the summit. So you walk up to them, and for that person, they might say, I help people to create more money by just making some changes with their taxes. I could tell you what some of the top athletes have done and what your viewers can do to be just like them and keep more of their money. That would be fantastic. And many times either that works, or what they'll say is, hey, that's not for me, but I have a friend or a spouse who's also a producer. Give me your information and I'm going to give it to them. In fact, one of the testimonial videos that's on this page, somebody said, I did exactly that and it worked really well for me. And I can't believe I'm so happy and I'm so grateful. So I want you to try that out. So be willing to make that change on the spot and make sure to put yourself in their position. Number 2, takeaway. So when I was a producer, we used to refer to this thing that we called takeaway. We would say to ourselves, what does the audience take away from the interview? What are they getting? So many of these media folks that you meet are thinking that exact thought. How does this benefit my audience? What will change their life, ideally, if it can change their life? And it's very important for you to connect with that, not only in the story, but in the pitch. Number 3, leave time for them to talk. So you get the 2.5 minutes, and you go up there and you give your pitch and you're talking about how to lose weight with only eating fast food. And if that was your pitch, and you're going through the whole thing and you hit the end of the time and the person who works for the summit taps you on the shoulder to say, okay, you ran out of time. And then you look at the media person and then they say, thanks, and you walk away. That is not the outcome that you want to create. What you want to do is be able to make your pitch in 30, 40 seconds, be able to get it together, concise, and leave time for them to talk. You really need to hear what's going through their mind. They may say, I did that last week, or I hate that, in which case you would give them one of your other pitches. What do you think of this? They may love that. Most of them are nice to you. I don't think many of them are going to be mean to you, but you need to understand that you need to have time for this conversation. The conversation is crucial. In fact, I'll give you a little story. When I was a producer, I had a guy who came up to me and he was a dentist. And he said, I can talk all day long about gingivitis and gum disease and it would be awesome. And I said, well, maybe, but not for my show, so I'm sorry. I don't know how we would do that. I work at a news show. And he said, okay, and he started to walk away. And then he turned around and he said, I have this one other idea, but you probably wouldn't like it. So, of course, I laughed. And I said, well, you still have time. You might as well tell me. And he said, well, I could look at anybody's teeth and I could tell you if they're trustworthy or not. So I stopped for a second and I said, you know, we're in the middle of a presidential election. And what I would love to do is have both of the major candidates up on, say, a big weather screen, the green screen where they do the weather, and have you stand in front of a huge blown up picture of their teeth. And would you be able to give pros and cons on both of those candidates? And he said, absolutely. And he started launching into what they would be. And I said, this is fantastic. I said, we have to talk. Give me your information. Let's talk on Monday. And we did, and I booked him, and it was fantastic, and people were talking about it for a long time to come. In fact, I've been out of TV over a decade, and we're still friends after all this time, and he's done lots of other media. And it all happened because he left time to talk. Number 4, take diligent notes. So, you're going up, you're meeting these people. This is what I would observe when I was a producer. People would listen to what I told them, and they would scribble in the margin of the book that they had. The summit actually gives you a book with the contact information, and they would scribble in the margin and they walk away. And sometimes their notes weren't perfect. And the way I know their notes were not perfect is I had a gentleman who was pitching me, it was somewhere in the fall, and he was pitching me a Christmas-related story. And I said, I'll tell you what. Why don't you reach out to me on December 1st and I'll be able to pitch it to the rest of my show and we'll see if we can get you on. And he said, okay, thanks, scribbled some notes down and left. And then he called me the following week and it was probably October. And I said, thank you for calling me, but I still think you should call me in December. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe it. And I said, okay, that's fine. Then it was all uncomfortable and all the rest of it. And he should have listened to what I said. In fact, I'm pretty sure he forgot to call me in December. So I would have booked him. and I have a number of stories about how people didn't follow up correctly. So what you need to do is take diligent notes. One of the things that I give in my program is a very specific follow-up system and note-taking system so that you can tap back into the conversation that you had. But whatever you do, make sure you write down great notes and that you follow through. And finally, number 5, sound like you would in an interview. So you walk up, you give your pitch, and they ideally say, "Oh, that sounds kind of interesting. Tell me more about that." And you start stumbling around, or you're not even sure where you'd go with that. Not ideal. You really want to be thinking about, what would I say? How would I act? What would I do in the actual interview? This is really a mini little audition where they're looking at you and saying, "I can envision it. Let's do it." So it's very important that you look the part, you sound the part, that you have great value to offer. So this really leads perfectly into what I'm doing and what I have coming up. It's very exciting. It's on the Tuesday before the summit, and it is the Get the Most from the Summit Workshop. In fact, you may have heard me call it earlier in this video, the Get the Most from the Summit Workshop and Program, because over the years, it has really grown. I've figured out a few other ways to really support all of you, and I want to share with you what they are. Before the event even starts, there's support, there's community. You'll get to meet some of the other people who are in the workshop, and there's help where you can start to feel better before you ever even show up. Then during, on that Tuesday before the summit, I'm going to do a full day where you get to work on looking better, sounding better, showing up media ready, and yes, of course, working on your pitches, which we'll do both before the workshop, so you don't just show up and have to reinvent the wheel. And then, of course, during that actual day, I'll give you more techniques for what to do when you walk up so that you can do your best. And then you'd think, okay, Jess is done with me. There's actually 2 other really, really great things that I want to share with you that I'm doing. One is I have a huge bonus, which is a $2,500 bonus. It's really more than $2,500, but it's 5 short videos, basically standing, looking, talking to the camera like I am, where you'll be able to talk about those pitches or talk about yourself, your bio, and be able to share this with producers. There are many producers who might say, "This is great. Do you have any recent video of yourself?" Now you will. And you'll have video of yourself talking about these topics. So we're going to have 5 short videos you're going to record where you get to look in the camera. You're going to presumably feel your best at the end of this big workshop, and it's some of my media training techniques as well as what to do at the summit techniques. So you'll come off your best and you'll get these videos. I'm including it at no extra charge. So it's something big, and I don't do this for any of the other groups that I work with throughout the year. Only this group. So you get all of that. And the last piece is there's some extra support after this is all done. So I don't want you to forget any of this. When you go back home, you're going to get videos from me. You're going to get some other information on how to convert interviews into book sales and more web traffic and whatever it is that you want. I want to support you long term. So I find that it's a win-win when I continue to support you. I have more people out there in the world who say, "Jess has done an amazing job." And this is the reason why they've brought me back now for the last decade. So it's at least 24 of these programs that I've been doing, meaning to get the most from the Summit Workshop. And each time I do it just a little bit better. So make sure you check out on this page. You'll see some of my past attendees speaking in their own words about what they took from the workshop. You'll hear me just saying, "What did you take away?" And I'm not guiding them any more than that. And they go through what happened. Some of the folks I videotaped at the summit, and they're talking about results that they've gotten there and bookings that they've gotten where they said, "I took something you said and I tried it and it just worked. I just walked out of there." So take a look at those. Also read on this page here a little bit more about what it is that we are going to be doing, meaning me and many of you. By the way, the seating is limited, the spaces. We only have spots for 18 people because we want to keep it tight and intimate. And you're going to be able to practice on camera during the day. Some of you, oh, that scares me. It's a safe space. It's a space where you can test something out and really everybody walks away totally empowered and feeling amazing. In fact, I'm putting on the screen right now some of the shots of people who have been through the workshop. That woman right there was very excited, as you see, that she felt great when we were working on our day together, and that was during the recording of one of those short videos. So check out the information on this page. In fact, in another video, I really go a little bit deeper into what happens during the actual program and what happens during the actual day. So check all of those things out. And I want to leave you with this quote, which is, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So I wish all of you much luck at the summit, but I also wish you plenty of preparation so you do a great job.